Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and a doctoral student of psychology. Today, we're going to unpack and explore why attractive men feel isolated and sometimes why they are isolated. Numerous reasons, actually, but we're just going to probably touch on 6 today. And if we need to make a follow up, we can. Men who are attractive stand out. They are different, and different is good, but it's also bad in some contexts. People will judge you, people will be jealous of you, people will assume things about you that's not true, and they will not believe you even if you try to prove them otherwise. Attractive men know this. In fact, a lot of men are isolated in general, but attractive men, sometimes what is missing with them and what they don't always have is they don't have the group of other men backing them up because of competitiveness or jealousy. Whereas other men, sometimes they can have each other in certain spaces. But overall, men feel isolated in general. This is not just for attractive men, but it will be curated a little bit more to attractive men. The first one is that he's actually judged for his looks, both good and bad, meaning people do not know the real him. Isolation is not always a physical isolation. Isolation can be and often is also an emotional isolation. For example, if a man, let's just say for whatever reason, he's at work and he is attractive. And so people, maybe they assume for whatever reason that he's going to be comfortable presenting in front of a lot of people, even though that's not really his comfort zone. He's actually not. He doesn't like that, but he's always picked to do those things maybe because he's attractive. They think maybe that would be easy for him, or it's not a really bad thing because no one's going to judge him. People are going to listen to him more because he's attractive. They assign these random characteristics on him when in actuality that makes him uncomfortable and nobody's listening to him. They're brushing him off even though it's very real for him. I have a lot of patients that actually you would never guess. I promise you would never guess that they have social anxiety. They're uncomfortable at things like this because of the way they look. They get judged by this a lot, and it's not true. They don't like stuff like this. It makes them uncomfortable. But if another person says, hey, that doesn't make me comfortable, can somebody else do it this year or this quarter? People might be more receptive to that. But because of his looks, people are less receptive. They take it as a joke or they think he's not serious. And that's uncomfortable. It really is. This is a very real situation. Another one could be that people assume that maybe he's a bad guy. He's not going to treat women well, or he isn't married because he has commitment issues, or maybe he does have commitment issues. I'm not saying that in a bad way, or maybe he's not married because all he does is like to, mess around with women. He's not serious. When in actuality, maybe he's not married because he's very serious and he's waiting for the right person. People assign things without knowing him, and they never really get to know him because even if he says, hey, that's not true, they will say, oh, you're just it's not a bad thing, or you're taking it too seriously. We're just joking. When if perhaps he had more from trust in other people, as in other people trust the real him or really want to know the real him, they might say, hey, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. But because of his looks, he's not getting that same treatment. And men in general, actually, if they speak up and say, hey, that makes me uncomfortable, or I felt bad about this, or someone did this to me, or this is a little bit of a caveat, a sub point, but even some men will say, I don't speak up if I get mistreated because no one's going to listen to me. I'm supposed to be a man. I'm supposed to be able to handle myself, but I'm also being mistreated and uncomfortable. Where do I go? Men say that a lot, and it's really sad how often so many men just bottle up all of these negative experiences for their whole life. Some men are in their 50s and they're saying, I've never told anybody this. And they're mentioning it now, finally. And it just says a lot about how society treats men. A little bit of a sub point. Sorry about that. So let's talk about our community. It's a subscription-based community, and it's for general mental health. We're going to talk about mental health. We're going to talk about research. I'm probably going to put prompts on there, worksheets, and some of the prompts are going to be video format, just like me sharing the prompts. Another time it might be typed. I also might share some blog posts or some writing that I've been doing that is research, and there's going to be reference pages. I might also show portions of research papers and things like that, and then we can discuss about things like that. We can talk about emotional skills, regulation, coping. We can talk about hypothetical case studies, but of course, this is not therapy. It's also not school. It's just psychoeducation. It's just informational purposes. We're not going to diagnose anyone, but we can talk about potential case studies, things like that. We can talk about interpersonal dynamics. And so I really wanted a space for mental health. So that's the community that we have. Like I'd mentioned, it's a subscription based. That is pinned in the comments. It is priced at $10 a month. And I want it to be something that, it has a paywall so that not everyone has access to it, so that the community stays, I guess, more specific to those who actually have interest in this stuff. But I also want it to be accessible to most people. So that's why I chose that price range. And hopefully you guys will enjoy it. And yeah, I'll also share things about myself and you guys can share as well. And so I'll see you there. The next one is other men can be jealous, competitive, or vindictive. This is really common. I've made videos on this because I feel like people don't realize how common it is. And it's something that men, maybe they're not aware of, or they're ashamed to admit that they've experienced this, where they might have a genuine person in their life. They thought it was genuine, a friend. And then that person turns their back on them. Or this person is trying to get with their girlfriend. Or this person makes fun of them around women, or try and put him down so that he can look better around women. They might be more competitive career-wise. People might try and take credit for work you've done at work. Your boss might not want you to get promoted because he's competitive and he doesn't want you to take his job. So he always looks over your work and he maybe takes credit for it, or he doesn't give you good projects. And these things are very real. It's in the workplace and relationship-wise. People might be vindictive towards you. Oh, he's just bragging when you say, hey, I know how to do that, or I can help, or whatever it may be. You're being genuine, you're being nice. And instead of people appreciating what you're offering, people are vindictive, they're judging you, they're competitive, they are isolating you, right? This is the point of this video. These are not fun things. It might seem flattering at one point, but it's very isolating if that is your entire life. And that's how you've lived for most of your life. The next point is regarding women who are interested in you and who like you and find you attractive. They're going to assume you're a player, or that you're lying about being single, or maybe you're texting a bunch of women. And it's tricky because, yes, this is going to happen if you are attractive, but it's going to happen even more if she's insecure. And the tricky part is, yeah, you want to reassure her, hey, I promise I'm not secretly married, or I'm not cheating on you. And you're trying to reassure her, but the insecure woman does not believe you. And in fact, she doubles down and makes it worse. And this is tricky because attractive men, because they're so used to, men in general actually, are so used to having to earn trust instead of it just being given naturally to him. He's really used to constantly reassuring her, right? And this is the trap that I see some men get into with this. Now that you're constantly reassuring her, you're only allowing her emotions to spiral further. It's okay to reassure a person you care about. That's completely normal. You're a normal and good guy for wanting to do that. But there's a limit, because if you reassure her 20 times and it's not getting better, this is just another sub point, but maybe just think about what kind of woman this is. If you've told her multiple times, hey, I'm not a player, I'm not cheating on you, I'm not lying, and she just doesn't believe you, then it's going to make the relationship really, really difficult. And she might need professional help, and that's not really your job. It can drain you, okay? The next one is women get angry when you're more picky about who you want to be in a relationship with. People in general get really upset when men are I will get married when I'm ready. I want someone who maybe she has this certain criteria. When a guy says this, especially if he's attractive, people get really upset. I've seen both men and women get upset about this because he has a liberty to do so. And I think really the reason why some people do this, among other things, is because perhaps they feel like they don't have the liberty to do that. And so they might be upset that you do. You are allowed to be picky. You're allowed to be more patient. You're allowed to say, hey, I don't want this woman. She seems like she has a lot of baggage, because she's not the only woman that you're ever going to have a chance with. Both men and women don't like hearing that you have choices, that you're allowed to be more particular, because it's your life in actuality. And people put you down because they feel intimidated and jealous of you. The next one is, okay. So this one is a video I've made a whole video on, and I stand by this very strongly. I will probably make more videos on this, but a lot of men don't know they're attractive because they're told less often, and typically the way a man is treated when he's attractive is just different than the way a woman is treated. Men, it's almost like they do get some perks of being attractive. They might get more status. Other men who are more attractive or successful might communicate with him. But on the flip side, a lot of women might assume he's a player. They might judge him. A lot of other men might be competitive towards him. And the other part that really sticks out the most is women do not initiate as often as men do. Women who initiate, typically, not all the time, they tend to be a little bit dysregulated or they have trauma. Not always. Some women just initiate because they do. But men initiate more, typically, at least in the United States. And so attractive women, they have a metric. They're always getting reached out or they're being initiated. Men don't have that metric because women are passive. And they're the more submissive partner in a relationship, typically. And so they don't have that metric. So a lot of men, they're thinking that's the metric they're supposed to have because that's what they do when they find a woman attractive. They reach out, they tell her she's attractive. They try to establish a relationship. Women will just stare at you. I know you don't like this. They might stare at you. They might give you indirect signals. And I'm not going to lie to you and say that's not the reality. It is a huge reality. And so attractive men just might not know it because the metric for being attractive for men is just different. And the last one is if he calls emphasis on something he's proud of. He worked on it. Maybe he worked really hard at his job. Maybe he worked on his physique. Whatever it may be, he's working really hard and he got this really good raise. Maybe he's getting recognition. He gets to do a speaking event. He's proud. People think he's bragging. Even though another guy can say the exact same thing and people, maybe because they, for whatever reason, they get this guy, they're more easy on this guy. They are proud of him as well. But an attractive guy or a guy who stands out, they're gonna feel jealous or uncomfortable because they feel like, okay, this guy gets everything just because he's attractive. And that's not true. He works. A lot of these men work really hard. It's not like he's just getting thrown promotions because he's attractive. Maybe it helps, and it does. There's some research on that, but it's not the only reason why. And I think a lot of people think attractive men they get everything handed to them. That is not true at all. Attractive men have their own difficulty. Men who are maybe less attractive also have difficulty. I'm not even saying that men in general have difficulties. Like, let's just be completely direct, but they have different versions. And so I hope this video is helpful to somebody. Please like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.